Today I am reviewing Oblivion the Black Hole at Gardaland in Italy. Now, I've already done a review of this coaster in the past, but that was done with poor memory.
I can't remember what I've forgotten.
And it was just plain wrong.
Wrong, sir.
So I've decided to replace that older review with an updated one. Oblivion the Black Hole is the sequel to Oblivion at Alton Towers, and it is one of the standout attractions at Gardaland. By extension, it's also one of Italy's largest thrill coasters, and it generally has a very good reputation, even for its type, because dive coasters are usually not the enthusiast's favorite.
What's up, loser?
But I'm gonna tell you why I really like this coaster. So let's launch into space, I guess.
Oh yeah!
I rewrote it in July of 2024, and let's talk about technical stuff. Oblivion the Black Hole is a B&M dive coaster. Specifically, it's one of their mini dive models since it has a smaller track and less wide cars. It opened in 2015 and it's still the park's newest thrill coaster. In fact, since then, they've only removed the thrill coaster, which I never got to ride. I'm so sad. It's got 18 rider trains over 3 rows, and therefore 6 per row. And it still has the old school over-the-shoulder restraints, which is great for airtime and overall comfort, although they're slightly cramped arm-wise. You're gonna have to fight with your side buddy for arm space, maybe. It's 139.4 feet tall, which is the 4th tallest roller coaster in Italy, although second spot is a tie, so it's kind of the 3rd tallest. It's got a length of 1,856.9 feet, which is a shorter dive coaster for sure, essentially just being an extended version of Kake at Heide Park on paper, which is already shorter than a broken pencil. And it's got a speed of 62.1 miles an hour, which is the 3rd fastest in Italy. It's got a ride duration of exactly 30 seconds, and I judge that from when it moves into the holding brake mechanism that the dive coasters do, and until the final brake run. And it's got 2 inversions in its short layout, a classic Immelman loop like every B&M dive coaster ever, except for the other Oblivion actually.
Ironic.
And a hardline roll.
Wait a minute. I'm white!
Let me describe Oblivion in one word. Clean. Boy is a white boy, and a damn good looking one. Among the many gorgeous rides at Gardaland, Oblivion takes a dominating stance above them all. Partially due to the height and following straight down drop, bro is all about being the alpha here.
I am now the alpha.
Which feels cringe to say. It looks intimidating and damn beautiful. The white and orange color scheme especially is great. Of course, the coaster itself is just white, but it's got a lot of orange theming all about it, and that is honestly one of my favorite color combos ever. It's like a carrot cake. The only thing I could wish for regarding its appearance is for it to have more orange lights in the dark, because it looks really good in the dark. But if it had like some orange LEDs, I mean, that would be godly.
You're gonna do superhero landing. Wait for it!
The layout begins with a chain lift hill taking you up to a brilliant view of Lake Garda and the surrounding area. Then it moves into the holding brake, and like on any other dive coaster, this part is just great, especially if you're in the front row as you are just staring straight down. It can be terrifying or really fun depending on who you are. And I for one really like it. And then it moves into the drop, which I think is 87.5 degrees, so almost vertical, but not quite. And this drop is probably my favorite drop on the 3 dive coasters I've done, the other 2 being Kake at Heide Park and Valkyria at Xabier. This drop for some reason just feels the strongest, especially in the back row, and is the only one I would say has proper ejector airtime on it.
This is some good shit.
In the front row, of course, you'll get very good flow ejector airtime, but in the back row, it is really decent ejector airtime and incredibly stomach dropping. This drop is just phenomenal. And it's up there as one of my favorite first drops of all time. Then it moves into the tunnel, and already at the bottom of the drop, you're gonna feel some nice G-forces. Then there's a small straight section in the tunnel, and then it goes into the Immelman loop where the previous G-forces continue. The Immelman loop is pretty forceful and also very sustained, so that's a great thing. However, the twist out of the Immelman doesn't really do anything at all. There's no real hang time, floater, and only a little bit of laterals. Especially if you sit out toward the side, you're gonna feel some more laterals. Then you you hop into the big camelback airtime hill on the ride, which has really great sustained floater airtime. This is one of those perfect floater airtime hills that just does exactly what it's supposed to do and maximizes it completely.
Perfect.
Now we're into the extended part of the layout as opposed to kake. And we hit a 270-degree helix, which is surprisingly forceful as well. I would say this is the best spot for positive G-forces on the ride, as they're really good and very sustained. And if you haven't been drinking enough water, or if it's hot, which is pretty easy for it to be in Italy, you might actually go on and get a small gray out, which then pairs perfectly with the following element, which is a hardline roll that gives wonderful hang time. It goes a little up in its profiling, so you could also call this a 0G roll, but I'm gonna stick with hardline roll, and because it goes so slowly through it and it's so long, you get completely out of your seat, and it's very euphoric hang time. And then it finishes off with curving into the final brake run, where you get a last little boost of positive forces at the bottom of the curve, and then that's the end of the ride. It's a short layout, but it's a very good one, and it delivers very well on the forces.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
Now, as I just said, Oblivion is a short ride, but it is longer than kake.
Just take the casserole out of it.
Loser.
But overall, regarding the pacing, it is solid from start to finish, and it's very consistent. There's no real break in the level of entertainment, and to be fair, it's kind of hard to have bad pacing on a ride this short, so really, I mean, we good.
Cha-cha, real smooth.
The B&M rattle is an infamous thing with the roller coaster enthusiast community. So thank fuck this boy don't have it. Oblivion is perhaps the smoothest B&M I've ridden out of the 10 I've currently done. It's almost pure glass. You won't find any hint of a rattle or real vibration on this thing. It is hella smooth. I don't know if the Italian heat is doing some magic there, but well done. Oblivion has a space theme, and has a storyline that tells that a black hole appears which swallows in everything, just like your mouth. That's what the tunnel at the bottom of the drop represents, which the theming surrounding it shows really well. These props look incredible and fun in a cartoonish sort of way. And then you, part of a mission team, need to venture into the black hole, because that seems like a top tier idea. Gold star, you fucking idiots. All the theming surrounding the area of the drop really is top notch and looks fantastic. The station also has a lot of lighting and sound effects and a lot of the white with orange. Yum. But I do think that the station could have been more detailed. The worst sin, however, is the queue line, because it's not used.
See, now that's some bullshit.
The ride used to have this very detailed and awesome queue in this large tent right next to the path. There were lots of cool effects and rooms, including things I have never seen before when I experienced it, because I did back in 2017. Back then, it was also partially out of order though, but most of it in there worked, and now they just left it for dead. Merlin at its finest. Please bring this back or just do something. I beg you.
We're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship.
Well, if you thought that Oblivion the Black Hole was just a slightly longer version of kake, then consider yourself a ding-dong, because it's a whole lot different. It's got my favorite drop on a dive coaster, it's got an otherwise almost perfectly executed layout, and almost all the elements provide the maximum of what they're supposed to, and left me and my friends genuinely impressed with the ride as a whole. So I will give it an 8 out of 10 for a coaster overall. I now consider this to be the best dive coaster I've ridden. Yeah, it took me by surprise too, but it genuinely slaps. And mixed with dope theming, a gorgeous view, and put into a magical ass park, this just hits a home run for me. And if loving a B&M dive coaster is cringe, then consider me the ultimate toe curler. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think about Oblivion or any similar coasters around the world. I'm gonna go launch into space now on this thing, even though I'm many miles away now. That doesn't matter. Bye!